Hello and welcome everyone to the third episode of Be in This World But Not of It, with the topic Energetic Protection for Lightworkers and Starseeds. My name is Marisol. I'm a singer and an intuitive sound and energy healer, and I have the great honor to be talking with the wonderful Liz Findlay today from Liz Findlay Healing. She offers multifaceted healing for animals and people. So welcome, Liz, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're going to dive into the topic of energetic protection, which I think is very relevant in these times. And why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about what you do exactly and how you came to your own path of working in the field of healing?
So, in short, I help people and animals with any sort of trauma or life challenges, and I use my lovely pendulum a lot within the healing sessions. I also do remote hands-on healing when that's relevant. And I clear energetic blocks and programs, agreements, all of that. But how I came to all of this, and it's actually been a journey of many years. I mean, I started seeing a healer in my teens. And it's been a slow process of a nice, gentle awakening, not always gentle at times. But it was really in 2010 that I did my first Reiki course. And this is what started setting me on a much quicker path of getting on my soul mission. So I had endometriosis, where the blood lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus around other organs in the body. And I had extensive surgery the beginning of 2008. And it was predicted that I would need the same surgery every 2 years, indefinitely. And so in 2010, I did my first Reiki course. And in between Reiki 1 and 2, you have to give yourself Reiki every day. And I did this, and I flew back to South Africa for a checkup, and my surgeon had no medical explanation for why it was under control and I didn't need further surgery. And he actually even pointed his finger at me and said, I don't know what you're doing, but you keep doing it. And so, yeah, that was just incredible. And that showed me this really does work. And so I did Reiki 2, and I've just been doing loads of courses ever since then. But I was still working in the property world, and I needed to take a huge leap of faith to finally give it up. I reached burnout, so that was a good reason to leave. And I started my own business doing all of this. I left there in 2016. So, yeah, I just keep adding more tools to my toolbox, and I keep changing and amending and tweaking what I do for what suits me in this current moment. And I'd say through everything that I say today, I'd just like to reiterate, find what works for you in this moment. And don't worry about changing techniques, procedures, ways of doing things to suit you as you learn and you grow more. Because the grounding and protecting that I do now is a bit different to what I was doing 5 and even 10 years ago. And I just keep evolving as I go.
Yeah, I think that's also with these healing modalities, and when we dive in deeper and open up deeper levels in ourselves, that's what I find. Like you said, things will change. It will go in deeper. You learn new techniques, or you find new levels of healing, and it evolves as you grow. And I think that's a beautiful process.
Exactly. And I think for a lot of the starseeds who are listening to this, and to a large extent light workers as well, is you are activating and remembering gifts from other lifetimes, and that's wonderful. But what I've also found is the more I get on the path and the more I get out there, the more I feel psychic attack and energetic interference. I think it's part of, if you want to call it the dark kind of saying, no, we'll have none of that. There's a bright shining star seed. Let's squash her before she wakes up or inspires too many people. So, yeah, I've definitely had to ramp things up the more I've been getting out there. And I'd say I didn't feel a lot of energetic interference, or I wasn't aware of it, even say 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first significant and memorable experience back in 2017. And I was on a course, and it was somebody from the course who was psychically attacking me, but I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
And it took months for me to figure it out. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is the beauty of any experience. Yes, it can be rough, and we don't really want to learn through challenge, but sometimes we need to, so that you can recognize it later. Because now, instead of whatever it is, 7 months or 10 months that it took me to figure it out with the help of other people, now if I experience psychic attack to any degree, especially that degree, it's within a few hours that I pick it up myself, because I recognize and I can deal with it myself. Or if I do need some help, I'm lucky that my partner works in this kind of field as well. Call on his help. But you know, that first experience, I had no idea what it was. I didn't realize it was psychic attack. I actually thought there was something possibly wrong with my physical body. I lost, I think it was 7 kilograms within about 7 months. In total, I just dropped, I think, 10 kilograms. And each time I went back to the course, because there were modules, we had people with, at first it was like, oh, you're looking great. And then it slowly progressed through the modules of, Liz, are you all right? You know, and it was like, I'm not, and I don't know. And it took some friends from a retreat who helped me join the dots and put the pieces together. When did this first start happening? Because I just couldn't face food, you know. And what was happening is this woman, I don't think she was doing this consciously. I have to just put that out there. She was living in a place of fear herself. And I don't know why, but she called it into me, into my solar plexus, and started pumping all of her fear into me. And I always felt so nauseous. And, you know, even looking at food, I was just so nauseous at the thought of eating food that I was really just living off fruit. That was the one thing I could stomach. But yeah, as I say, I've now learned all of these techniques that it takes me maybe 2 to 4 hours to figure it out. Actually, the other day, and I think this is important for Starseeds and Lightworkers to understand, is that you can get psychic attack. It's not always just somebody sitting there thinking about you and sending bad thoughts. That's one way of getting psychic attack. Or even in your presence, sending sort of energetic daggers towards you. But another way is even through electronic devices, through modes of communication, even social media. So I was doing work the other day. I was doing an admin day, and I suddenly started getting such brain fog, a headache. I was feeling lethargic and heavy, and I was thinking, you know, these are some of the symptoms of psychic attack and what's going on. And I couldn't figure out where it was coming from or what it was. But then I suddenly got an intuitive message to check my internet browser. So I got my pendulum, and I just literally pointed to each browser, and I was asking my pendulum to please show me which one it is. And it was Facebook. And so I messaged my partner, and I said, because he was experiencing something similar, and I said, it's Facebook, check Facebook. And he then told me of a certain person to check on Facebook. Now, I'm not friends with this person. This person wasn't messaging me. This person wasn't commenting on any of my posts. So there was no interaction on Facebook. But I found this person, and I blocked them, and it just stopped. It all lifted.
Yeah, it's amazing from what area it can come, that we might not even suspect it. Yeah,
from all sorts. And so I really encourage everyone to do a morning grounding and protecting exercise or routine, or whatever you want to call it, a little meditation. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't mean that you've got to wake up half an hour early or anything. I can do a very quick version for myself if I'm strapped for time in just like 5 minutes. you don't have to close your eyes. Sometimes I do a mixture of closing my eyes and keeping my eyes open. And I even instruct things to happen. So instead of talking myself through a meditation, that's great if you can listen to a meditation, but I will even just say, you know, I call on this, I do that, and I just do it very quickly, boom, 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 and it's done. Yeah. You know, ground into the crystalline grid, and I draw the energy up. And so if really all you have is 5 minutes, I encourage it. And I've got a great story for how I know this works. And look, my meditation is not foolproof. I'll just put it out there. It's ever evolving. I do have a meditation. It's called Express Morning Grounding and Protecting Meditation. It's on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Insight Timer. If you want, you can use that as a base and then tweak it to form your own. You can pick out elements that resonate with you. Listen to mine, listen to somebody else's, listen to a group of people, and you find the elements that resonate with you now, and that can change. Because what I'm doing right now in my morning practice, if you want to call it, is a bit different to what that meditation is. Elements are still similar, but I've changed a few things up and I've added a few things in. So at some point I might record another one to give a few options. And it's very important to go with what you feel is right in the moment and not what somebody else feels is right. It's all about what resonates with you. And I mean, one example is when I was a teenager, and the healer I went to said, send your roots down into the ground, you anchoring. Because I was lying on my back, I just automatically felt and visualized roots along the whole length of my body. So even from my head, my back, my hips, down my legs. And at some point I was told, I don't think it was by her, I think it was by somebody else, no, the roots are only from the soles of your feet. And I thought, oh, I've been doing this wrong. And so I just started doing it from the soles of my feet only.
Yes. And
just recently I thought, you know what, in certain situations, I need to do the whole length of my body like I intuitively experienced as a teen. So it's not always relevant, but sometimes I do that. So go with whatever feels right for you. So how I know some form of morning grounding and protecting helps, at least, even if it's not foolproof, is I was on a course last year and I diligently did my morning and grounding and protecting before the course. I do it even before I turn my mobile phone or cell phone off flight mode every morning. And I was on this course with a friend who kind of felt like, well, I've been doing that for years. I don't need to do it quite as diligently as you. Somebody on the course had an entity, and I didn't quite understand what was going on with her, but I did know that I wanted to stop working with her. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. She did cry a number of times, and I'm usually a very empathic person. If somebody's crying, I will see if they need any kind of help or support or what, even just a tissue. But for her, it was feeling very irritating and I needed to get away. And I couldn't explain why. Anyway, she ended up working with my friend, and my friend did not have a very good experience. Again, she went off crying, and my friend didn't understand what was going on. And my friend gradually became quite lethargic. And after the course, we were chatting. My friend asked, can I check if they've picked up an entity? And sure enough, there was an entity inside my friend. And I said, well, you better check me, because we checked, it was from this lady. What had happened is I'd walked away with rips and tears to my auric field because the entity was trying to get inside. But there was enough protection to kind of, ward it off for a time being. Look, I think if we'd had an extended course, it probably would have got through my protection, because like I said, right, it's layers. It's not 100% foolproof, and there could be something going on with me that I could allow such an interaction. It's a great learning opportunity, I will admit. But because my friend had done absolutely no kind of protection, it just hopped right in. So anyway, we did a procedure, got rid of it, and it's gone. But my friend is now of the opinion, yes, actually, some form of grounding and protection is useful.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what you said is really, really good and valid, that everybody should really check in with themselves and see, what do I need, and take that self-responsibility, and not to depend on someone on the outside. This is how it's supposed to be. So of course, like you said, use your meditation or someone else's, see how you can get into it, what works for me, but always have that sense of what do I need and how is it working for me, and tune into yourself and find your own path for that.
And you can even change it up day to day. Like I work with electric blue fire. It's great for burning through any sort of lower vibrational projections towards you and psychic attack, things like that. And then I also think unconditional love. And I've heard a lot of people, they don't actually use layers of protection at all. They just surround themselves with unconditional love. Because, and I do believe this, that, you know, love transforms all. I'm not at the point yet, or currently, or maybe now, I don't know, that I can just vibrate with love. I think I feel too much of the collective as well, and I'm on my own journey, just getting myself forward, that I can't only use love. I did give it a try, and it didn't work 100% for me. That I think until such time as I'm really vibrating rainbows and butterflies, I need to have these other layers in place. But what I've been doing is changing it up day to day. Like sometimes I will put a layer of unconditional love right around me because I'm needing that comforting. Other times I actually put it right on the outside of all the layers of protection, because I want to enter the world and for people to feel the love. If I'm feeling a bit vulnerable, or if there are things going on, I might actually put the electric blue fire on the outside. So I change up the layers of where they come in. And then I even ask my higher self to upgrade the layers. Because what I think might be working right now, my higher self might have another idea.
Yeah, and it's a great way to also be creative, you know, and practice really tuning into your intuition. What is the image I'm getting today? What are the energies that I need? What protection do I need today?
Yeah, exactly, today. And I do think, so what I was taught with Reiki is that you can connect to Reiki anytime, anywhere. And yes, you can. But what I've since learned is that it is good to bring an element of this grounding and protecting before you connect to any kind of healing energies like that, before you open yourself up. And so, yes, I was initially told, you know, I used to live in London, so I'd use the London transport buses underground, and, you know, that literally you can even do Reiki on a bus. And I did. So within that time in between my Reiki level 1 and 2, giving myself Reiki every day, there were times when I'd be sitting on a bus and I would just connect to Reiki and give it to my abdomen, which I think really helped with the endometriosis. And it worked. But I really think now I would encourage people to be in a stationary place, not a moving vehicle. Although if need be, you can. I'm sure in a moving vehicle, it could help for car sickness with kids or whatever. But where you can, try be in a room, in a quiet room, and set up the space. Now, I was initially taught that you can put Reiki symbols into the corners of the rooms. And I did this, but it didn't really resonate with me. And this is why I think with any practice, with any technique, always go with what resonates with you and find your own way. Use what you're taught as a basis, a nice grounding, and then, you know, shake it up, tweak it, do what you need to. So I like to bring energetic protection into all of the walls. And if I am using Reiki symbols, I draw it into the middle of the walls, not the corners. But I also then started adding in ceiling and floor. Because you're not always just in your own house, maybe, or some people might live in apartment blocks. So you've got somebody living above you, somebody living below you, and you don't need their energies interfering. And so that's why I do always bring, I use the Reiki symbols a bit less now setting up the rooms, but more so like gold light from Metatron and things like that. And I always include walls, floors, even doors, windows, things like that.
Yeah, I do the same. also what you say, golden walls and floor have that safe space. And sometimes it's like golden light symbols also flowing through, like translucently, you know?
Oh yeah, because you work with light language.
Yeah, so I have that for the protection sometimes too. I'll see like streams of codes or something coming in with this light that then fills the room and seals everything, basically.
Oh wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Reiki symbols are, I mean, they are symbols and they are 3D as well. So on some of my Reiki webinars, I do tell people that you can draw the symbols and step into them. So I wonder to some extent if your light language or light language that anyone channels, if it can be visualized as 3D and, you know, step into it.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's no limits to this. So if you receive an image of a symbol of any kind, or with this light language, when I sing it, it's like a vibration, but I'll also have internal images of codes. So, I mean, if you see an image or a symbol that's very 3D to you, you can, like, I mean, imagine it, envision it getting bigger, you know, stepping into it, enveloping you. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to just play around and see what works and what doesn't work.
To play around. I think not to be too, I'm missing the word now, but too rigid about it. Thank you. And to have that playfulness, because the more playful we are and step out of that linear way of thinking, we open up to this multidimensional connection that we have, the beings that we are, and this information can flow much more easily.
And I think then also keeping the vibe high. So what I'm needing to do is really limit the amount of lower vibrational information I expose myself to already, even set myself up energetically with protection when I'm going to receive it, watch any sort of truth videos out there or whatever. So I don't look at the news at all because it just brings my energy down. And I kind of get an image of, I set up a lovely sphere around me, kind of like if you've watched X-Men, you know how Jean Grey has that sphere around her where nothing can touch her. So I kind of visualize that. But when there's anything that gets me down, upsets me, that I find traumatic, you know, even if it's just some kind of news or even movies, I tried to watch a comedy recently and there was so much violence within the comedy that I really thought, you know what, I need to just stick to movies like The Wedding Singer with Drew Barrymore, you know, just light things where there's no violence whatsoever, because I see this sphere around me that it kind of distorts and I'm not able to keep it in place and functioning optimally when I'm feeling down in any way or there's anything disturbing my peace. And so look, I do try to educate myself and watch a lot of these videos, especially these truth videos that are coming out on platforms like Rumble and BitChute. I think it is important to educate myself with those things, but I have to do it in measured doses so that I can still keep this energetic protection around me, because there was one time where I did do a bit of a marathon and I really felt the effects, and I was more susceptible to energetic interference, because it's not always psychic attack. It's not just that somebody sits there sending you daggers, you know, they're even beings that want to interfere with us energetically. Because they don't want us on our path, on our soul mission. They want to interfere and hinder the soul mission. And so measured doses for me, and setting up the space and just being careful what I expose myself to. Like, I love The Matrix, but my partner asked if I wanted to see the most recent one, and excuse me, part of me does, and the other part is I cannot take this violence.
I have the same. It does something to you. And like you said, I think it's very important to watch out what you expose yourself to, and then in doses, of course, educate yourself, look at things, but be careful, because I also feel like the the deeper we go down this path and into our inner worlds and actually being the light that we are, of course we vibrate higher, but that means we also become much more sensitive and we feel and sense so much more. I don't know if that's how you feel. And yeah, to really, in this higher state of consciousness and vibration, to tend to your needs and see what you expose yourself to.
Yeah, and even just, social interactions and all of that. Excuse me. I always try to leave my Sunday free to just rest and relax.
Yes.
Because it's all interactions and everything. Because I've always been quite sensitive. Like even as a child, I could hear electricity. And it's only recently I was reading The Invisible Rainbow. I think it's by an author, Arthur Furstenberg, if I remembered correctly. And I do recommend it. I haven't finished it. Very interesting how electricity affects the human body and how they actually knew this back when they were developing electricity and rolling it out. And I didn't realize that there's a small percentage of the population that can hear electricity. I thought those who couldn't hear electricity had hearing problems, like my dad or something. But yeah, I would walk down the passage and I could hear that the TV was on, even though it was on mute before I entered the room. And sure enough, I'd enter and it's on mute. There's no sound coming from it, but I could hear it even down the passage. And I do think the more we are waking up, the more sensitive we're becoming, because I used to sleep fine. And the more I'm waking up, the more I'm getting on my path. I'm now at a point where I have to sleep in an EMF protection t-shirt. All of my pajamas are redundant.
Wow.
Because, and even now, the place that I bought them from, they did warn that after, I think it's about 30 washes, that they're less effective. And I was with my kinesiologist and she said, oh, you're being susceptible to EMF again. And I said, oh, but I'm wearing these t-shirts, but have they lost their effectiveness? And so she did muscle test me and she said, yes, 2 of them have.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm moving on to the other ones and sleeping better. But I think it was last year, there were 4 nights in a row where I just did not sleep well. And I mean, I have a sleep meditation out there. I've got a sleep podcast. I've investigated everything to do with sleep. That my bedroom, my routine, everything is set up. Like I don't have any blue light exposure an hour before bed. Phone is turned on flight mode. I don't look at it, not watching TV an hour before bed. All of these things in place. So why for 4 nights in a row? My partner happened to stumble across an article that said day 1, more satellites were launched into space. And so, yeah, he lent me his EMF protection t-shirt. And that's when I found out I have to sleep with EMF protection t-shirt because I slept.
Wow. I didn't know they have those.
Yeah, they're really great. I think because you're in Germany, aren't you?
Yes.
You can probably order from a company called Shield. And I have a feeling that they're in Slovakia, if I've remembered correctly. And so I sleep in their t-shirts. They've got even beanies. I've got a beanie to walk around with in winter. But yeah, just in terms of the EMF, and I think this is part of energetic protection, for me to be able to use my computer, because my entire business moved online with all of these lockdowns. And in a way, I'm really grateful because I was spending a lot of time traveling.
Yes.
Driving up to an hour to go see a client, and it's exhausting, especially for a sensitive being like me. I'm much better suited to being in the comfort of my own home, only making myself presentable from the waist up. And, just being in my own space that I have energetically protected. But to just be on a computer, I've had to bring in, I've got bags of shungite. I've got the most beautiful orgonite pyramids that my partner gave me. I've got 4 of them. Orgonite is great for EMF protection, and these you can get on Etsy. If you look on Etsy, just type in orgonite pyramid, And then I've also got these tachyon discs. I think this is actually from a German company, Advanced Tachyon Technology. I'm pretty sure, yeah, because if you look there, there's the German.
Yeah.
So I've got one of these under the computer and one behind the computer. And we've also got behind our TV, because these electronic devices, I mean, especially, so my mobile phone, or if maybe you call it a cell phone, my left eye started twitching when I bought this new one a few years ago. I couldn't pin it immediately to the phone because it was like a few weeks afterwards, and I couldn't stop it. It was twitching all day on and off, and it was driving me crazy. And so I started investigating the EMF protection for phones. And now I've got 2 pieces of shungite. I've got various things stuck to the back, even this other thing that I got off Love Technologies. It's like a light up thing, but you've got to play a YouTube video while positioning this thing to get the best position. It was quite strange, but it works, because my eye, as soon as I put the shungite there, my eye stopped twitching within 24 hours.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear sign. Yeah.
So long as you get shungite, like the real proper shungite, it really does work, and it helps with the energetic protection.
Yes.
Because these EMFs, even like there's dirty electricity and all of that going through our homes. I mean, we've got a Faraday cage on our router. We've got Faraday cages on our gas and electricity meters. They all affect us, our energy fields, and our bodies. And so then it just makes it harder to keep that sphere of protection around you.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of interesting things, definitely. I also have I work with a wonderful woman in Berlin, and she channels symbols and does soul journeys, and she also channels your soul symbol that contains the essence of your soul. And she has, I have it on my computer here, stickers with a certain symbol that also has a protective energy.
Oh, yes.
So, and you can put it on your phone. I don't know if I have one in my drawer. Let me check. I could show you. No, I think I've used them all. Yeah, but she's in Berlin, and she has these stickers, and you can put it on your phone, your computer. So that's also helpful.
Yeah, I think we do need it, and we need all of these. And I think some work for some people better than others. Like for me, it's definitely the shungite. And for some other people, they've used these other stickers that stick on their phones. But yeah, actually the orgonite, for me, shungite and orgonite are the main things. Like my kinesiologist recently said to me that when I go out, like to restaurants, coffee shops, even out and about, I've got a shungite pendant, and she said, oh, I must start wearing that. And it's something that I never thought of. Look, I know there's all of these EMFs and whatever in my home. I mean, if I'm trying to connect to the internet, the Wi-Fi, I mean, at least 6 come up, because there's my neighbors there, my neighbors there, across there, you know, so it's not just my router. So I was aware of it in the home, but something that I feel so silly for missing is that when I go out, when I'm in a restaurant, every single person who's there has got their mobile phone or cell phone that is connected to their Wi-Fi data, you know, for them to be able to access the internet. And then the restaurant or the coffee shop, 9 times out of 10, has at least one router there offering free Wi-Fi. You know, so you just sit there with your cup of tea and you blast with all of this Wi-Fi again. And so, yeah, I've started wearing my orgonite pendant when I go out as well. But yeah, it is so important. And I think what's also important is helping the children.
Yes.
Because these kids are on electronic devices. I mean, so I think cell phones were brought into South Africa when I was a teen, roughly. I can't remember exactly when it happened. But I got my first one, I think, when I was about 16. So it was still new for the schools with kids bringing cell phones into class. And we weren't really on it as much, you know, and they were really just the black and white ones that you could send in South Africa, you call it an SMS. In the UK, it's a text
short
message.
Message service, yeah.
Yeah. It was really just that. But I mean, nowadays, they've even integrated using iPads in schools. And I think it's fantastic. You know, these kids are so intuitive with technology that, you know, there are kids finishing school now who can do way more on social media than I can, because I'm trying to feel my way and figure it out and watch tutorials that these kids are doing and I'm learning from them. But with all of this EMF exposure and everything, like on a daily basis, you know, throughout the day, it can get to them.
Yes.
And, you know, I think on a whole, these starseed children, these crystal children, these rainbow children, they are so much more sensitive and they need that extra help. And look, I didn't think I'd be working with children. It was, I think in 2016, I was in a group setting with a healing, and this lady was working on me, and she was showing other practitioners how to do this certain modality. And she knew a little bit about me and that I really wanted to focus on the animals. And she started laughing and she said, "You think you're going to work with the animals? I have news for you. The animals are going to lead you to the children." And I just started crying. I was like, no. And I thought I could put it off, but it's obviously a soul journey. I know I do work with children in the astral planes. It's meant to happen on the earth plane as well. So for more than a year, I was asked to create meditations for children, especially these sensitive types. So I finally did it. And earlier this year, I've released 3 so far. 2 of them are nighttime meditations, and then there's one morning one. And I specifically infused in these meditations these energetic techniques that I use on myself and my clients. So the first one I ever did is called Purple Silver Sparkles. And basically I get the kids, I think they find a jar or a bag of purple silver sparkles. And in the writing of this meditation and in the recording and the editing, I consciously held the intention that those purple silver sparkles are infused with ultraviolet fire. It's a very cleansing and protective energy. And I then get the kids to sort of throw it around their bedroom. So they're getting ready to sleep well at night and they throw it around the bedroom. And I think it can stick to walls and the ceiling and all of that. So it's setting their room up energetically that they can feel safe. Because I think a lot of these kids, they are experiencing nightmares. I've even heard of some having night terrors. Or just in general. I mean, I set up my home at night. I lie in bed and I bring in all sorts of protection. I've noticed when I don't do that, I am more susceptible to bad dreams, sometimes nightmares. It's only twice that I've woken up, or maybe a third time, of feeling that there's something in my room. And then having to get that out. Yeah. So just to help these kids. And then there's another one where I introduce, it's called the Dream Dragon. So I introduce them to their own personal dream dragon who will go with them on all dream time adventures. And this dream dragon is kind of like a spirit guide, a protector, that they're not going off on their own. There's a being there to help them. Yeah. And I think it's important to teach these kids their own energetic protection, because that's empowering them. Just like all of us, I encourage people not to rely on a spiritual teacher, not to take everything a spiritual teacher says as verbatim. Find your own way, find what resonates for you. I think it's important to teach these kids how to protect themselves energetically, not to rely on a parent or a guardian. Because there might be situations where the parent or guardian isn't there. Yes. You know, in schools specifically. And so the crystal egg meditation, it's a morning meditation setting them up for school. I mean, I experienced bullying at school. I wish I'd had some kind of energetic protection. I just had to learn how to be, I wouldn't say hard, but almost like hard on the outside, soft on the inside, because I was still hurting. I still felt the effects of the bullying. But trying to appear hard on the outside so that they'd hopefully leave me alone. Yeah. so that's why this meditation, I help them set up their own energetic egg that they can step into anytime they want.
Mm-hmm.
And protect themselves. And then they don't rely on a parent to be there to do it for them or talk them through it.
Yeah, and I think that's so wonderful that you do that. And we'll definitely post your the link to your website and YouTube channel below this video. So then if anyone's interested, you can just access the link. Yeah. That, and especially the kids coming in now. I mean, they're very old souls. They have more of their DNA is activated, like you said, the rainbow children, and they're so sensitive. They feel so much and sense so much of what's going on around them, and they're still in this, still old system. So exactly what you said. It's wonderful when they can learn to protect themselves.
I had a session with a little boy, and he'd been in a classroom on his own with a teacher. Mm-hmm. And all the way down the hall was another classroom filled with kids. But he said to the teacher, "It's really noisy in here." Mm-hmm. And so I helped him understand that he's sending his aura or energy fields, however you want to describe it, it's too big. Mm-hmm. And it's all the way in that other classroom. And to bring it closer, bring it into your classroom. Mm-hmm. And I did a lovely exercise with him, just, expanding and contracting his energy fields, mm-hmm. so that he can understand that he can do that, and we make it as big as the room. Can it touch the roof? Mm-hmm. And small, let it touch your feet and the top of your head. And it was really great. And he got it. I mean, and they're so quick. For me, I think back when as a teen, when I was working with that healer, when she was saying, see this, see that, some of it came naturally. Mm-hmm. Other things I had to concentrate quite hard. But these kids have got it immediately. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did another exercise with him, and I said, and I've done this a bit with adults as well, okay, there's energy here. What color is it? He just said immediately blue. Mm-hmm. Whereas I've had adults where they're kind of like, and they're tuning into it, and they're like, well, I think it's this color. And I mean, these kids are just instant. He just said it's blue. Yeah, they're still so intuitive. And as grown-ups, the mind is so busy, and then you question everything straight away, and you miss that moment of intuition when it pops into your senses. And then, like you said, you think about it, and then it's already gone, kind of. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Now, something that I also bring in with my work is checking for energetic interference in terms of negative openings and portals. Mm-hmm. And what I do on some of my webinars is I encourage people to learn techniques and then see how they can adapt them in other areas of their sessions or whatever. And what I've been doing for a while now is I'll learn a so-called human technique, mm-hmm. and I then see how I can bring it into the animal sessions. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the energetic protection, what I found really interesting is I'd never been taught to check negative openings or portals with an animal. Mm-hmm. And it was never something that I thought, is this something I need to check? But I was working with a horse, and it just came to me as soon as the lady booked the session, and I read why she's booking the session. Immediately it came to me, this horse has at least one portal open in its energy fields. And I'd never checked it before, and I just thought, okay, well, let's try this. So during the session, I did the human technique, mm-hmm. with the horse. It's with pendulums, mm-hmm. and sure enough, I can't remember how many it had. And did the procedure to seal it, close it, disappear, and all of that. And I got great feedback because this mm-hmm. horse was really experiencing a lot of energetic interference, especially from somebody who seems to be showing a lot of jealousy. Mm-hmm. It was a person who would be present at the competitions. And anyway, I got great feedback that the horse did so well. And mm-hmm. It's great because part of me, that I'm still dealing with this element of, am I crazy? I'm checking for portals in a horse's energy field. But I get the intuition, do it. Yes, you need to check it. Yes, the horse does have this. And then to get the feedback is so great because it's like, it really did help. And so I think we're all susceptible. And I put out a social media post about animals that can see through the veil. Mm-hmm. And I asked if anybody's experienced their companion animals, especially cats, mm-hmm. You know, looking at something in a room and there's seemingly nothing there. And I got loads of people coming with their stories, dogs and cats. Mm-hmm. And I think there was the odd horse story, and it was wonderful. Yeah. And it just shows that they're susceptible as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I put a great story about one of our dogs. We got new fridges. Mm-hmm. And we had to get somebody to come in and amend the kitchen cupboards before the fridges could go in, because it was kind of fridge freezer. Mm-hmm. So we had two exactly the same, but the handles were on different sides, you know, so you can open both like that.
Yes.
So we had them in a separate room while the cupboards were being amended, and our one dog just kept barking at the one fridge. And even then, when we'd put the fridges in, how did she know? Because it actually swapped round. She still barked at the same fridge, because we could tell from the handles which one she was barking at. So I went to that healer that I used to go to as a teen, and I explained this, and I did think, oh, I don't know what she's going to think of me. You know, I'm talking to her about a dog barking at a fridge. And she uses pendulums as well. And she checked, and she said, there's an energy attached to this fridge. And so she cleared it. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, the dog never barked at the fridge again. Mm. And so they see these things. And so, yeah, if your animal is noticing or barking at anything that you can't see, take that as a sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a funny story as well. The woman that I work with in Berlin, when her daughter was still small, because she also was very open and could see things, and they had a cat, and sometimes the cat would like bounce around the room and like push up her back, and then the little daughter said, oh, can't you see, Mom, this, I don't remember what it was, a being is riding on the cat again, and the cat's getting really annoyed. And the cat was like jumping up and down.
Oh my gosh, that's so brilliant.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, I do. When I feel under the weather and I'm laying in bed, I sense all of my animals that I've had before, childhood animals, on the bed with me. So you can call on them in spirit. They can also come back and help.
Yeah, absolutely. I have, oh my God, I don't know if I can get this together. I was singing on a cruise ship once, and I met this woman from South Africa. She lived there. I don't think she was from there, but she lived there. And she could see and communicate with the souls of animals that had passed on. And she would sometimes see, before an animal died, she would see the soul leaving already, the body. Wow. Like she saw a bird and the soul was already out of the body, and the bird got eaten like a minute afterwards or something. And she had this farm, and she would work with the souls of these animals. I don't remember all the details, but it was really interesting what she said.
Wow. Yeah, I think there are loads more people coming out as working with animals, because you know, I remember the one time working with a dog and just getting that he wants more eggs, and it felt a bit strange telling these people, oh, your dog is wanting more eggs. You know, well, how do you know that? How is that coming through? But I think it's generally becoming more and more spoken about and accepted, and I think people are understanding the connection that they've got with their animals. I mean, as a child and as a teen, I used to just talk verbally to our animals, and I understood them a lot of the time. Now, it was only as an adult when I said to somebody, oh, my dog used to ask me for banana, that they were like, what? How? And I had to take a moment. Yeah, how did he ask me? I mean, it was kind of just like he would sit in front of me and I would just know. And it wasn't any kind of a begging. You know, you do get some dogs who kind of, if you're eating a banana, they beg or whatever, but it was just a knowing. And so just tuning in, accepting that, and realizing. But I don't think it's any sort of a special gift. I certainly don't feel like I was born with a special gift. I think anyone can do it, and it's through training and experimenting and all of that. That you can awaken that.
Yes, I think it's something the potential lies within us all. We've just become so out of touch with it in our society that people forget who they truly are. I mean, was it Rumi? Yeah, he said unlearning is the highest form of learning. So to forget the things or go through the things that have been placed upon us, you know, the way of thinking, the limitations, and to actually come back to who we really are and to that potential. And like you say, then by training and experiencing it, uncovering it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's always, I think that's a wonderful way to see it. There's nothing we have to get from the outside. It's just something to rediscover. It's
and remember.
And remember, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Remember.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, but no, thank you so much. There's so many helpful things. And I think people can relate to a lot of it and find a lot of help within these recommendations. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. And do you have anything else that you find very important also to let people know in this area of energetic protection? Anything else that's relevant?
Oh, yes. So one thing, when I had to go back on this course, once I'd finally figured out that back in 2017 that lady was psychically attacking me on the course, when I'd finally joined all the dots, I said to these friends who helped me, I said, but I've got another module that I've got to go see her. I don't really want to see her. And they said, you can put up a gold wall between you and her. I found that so helpful in many situations.
Yes.
You know, even if there is somebody, you know, like in social situations where you're expected to do like a hug hello or something like that. There's been the odd person where I'd really prefer not to, but it's expected. And I just imagine not quite a gold wall, but almost like a gold film in between them and I.
Yes.
That I then, my energy is not really mingling with theirs. And I certainly feel better with that.
Yes.
And then similarly, when I go to any practitioner, if it's for a massage or like my kinesiologist, whatever, even my hairdresser, I always ask for gold gloves to be placed on their hands. You know, especially you think a hairdresser is working very close to crown and third eye.
That's true.
Sometimes even throat, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't interfere with any sort of good energetics. Like it's certainly not interfered with any sessions with my kinesiologist. She's actually got a very lovely energy anyway. So, but it also means if I'm going through anything, then I know it's not going through to them.
Yeah.
If I'm having to purge whatever.
Yes.
But I think that's also important.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can't, you know, like especially if certain family events or, you know, whatever, there've been situations where you can't really say, oh no, I'll say hello to you and you, but not you.
Yes. Yeah, and then it's good to have some tools.
Yeah, that gold film.
Yeah. I also used to, like, I mean, you know, I've worked in the theater for over 20 years, and there's so many people, and sometimes, I mean, you have people with all kinds of energies. And I also, what really helps me is like envisioning a cloak that on the outside has mirrors, so that the energy of people that is not good for me will be reflected again. So it'll bounce off basically.
Yeah. So one thing that I do teach people is that you can direct energy away. So especially if somebody is targeting some kind of a psychic attack to you. And something that I learned on a course, I didn't realize this, that even just gossiping or talking badly about someone is a form of psychic attack. It's obviously a more minor one. But, you know, even that sort of thing. And you can use a way of, you either bounce it off, and again, you could use like gold or like you say, the mirrors or something like that. And it's bounced off into the universe. That's what I usually recommend. Just send it out to the universe. Let source deal with that energy. Yeah. Rather than sending it back to the person. Yeah. So there is somebody in my life who I can't, for various reasons, get them out. And so I just keep them there. But when they send me any kind of psychic attack, I send it out to the universe, because I've been told explicitly I cannot send it back to them. It will involve karma. I will get karma, because they are not doing this intentionally. They don't know what they're doing, and they are not capable of understanding, even if I were to have a conversation with them, to just keep sending it out into the universe, keep batting it away. But there is somebody that I know in my life that occasionally sends it, but they know what they're doing. And so then I will visualize more like a concave gold wall. So basically it's kind of like that, almost like I guess like a baseball mitt, but with this part facing them here. So whatever they send gets bounced back straight to them, because he can get whatever he's sending to me. I'm not interested, And there's no karma involved, because he knows what he's doing. And even on another level with his higher self, I've warned him, if you continue to send the psychic attack, I am going to send it directly back to you. And since I've been using this concave, it's actually diminished.
Yes.
But yeah, with the other person, I don't want to get karma. So I think for the most part, you want to send it out into the universe, and it's only if somebody really knows what they're doing and they keep at it.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
Go into meditation, and I wouldn't bring their higher self right up close to you. You want to keep them even like outside the room, outside your house. On one of my courses, they taught us you can imagine a gold infinity sign, and you're each standing in a loop. So
that's what I use. Separated. I find that very effective. Yeah.
And you can then have a conversation, just like they're standing in front of you, and you can explain, look, what you're doing to me is wrong. It's affecting me. You need to stop this. If you don't stop this, I will be sending it directly back to you. And I release myself of all karma, because I am warning you. I think this is a thing. So long as there's a warning, and you're not just doing it straight off the back. But that's been very helpful for people who just won't let up. And there's one other technique that is not foolproof. It helped me in one situation. It was great. I learned about, you can put somebody's name in the freezer.
Okay.
So I had this one woman, she seemed very spiritual, but she's obviously going through a lot, and she started bullying me, and I needed her to just leave my life, and she would not, and she just kept messaging me and all of this, and nothing that I could say. She would always find something to reignite conversation in some way. And so I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So I wrote her name on a piece of paper. I put it in a Ziploc bag with water, and I put it in the freezer. She left my life. It's been, what is this? Definitely 2 years. I've not heard from her. But when I learned this, the lady said to me, you need to be prepared for this person to leave your life, whoever you do this with. So you don't want to do it, maybe you have an argument with your partner, or whatever, a family member or something. It's not really recommended for that. It needs to be that you are willing for this person to completely leave your life. I've tried it with somebody else, and because they know what they're doing, and I actually think that they have probably had lifetimes training in the dark arts, he's kind of managed to break through that. So his name is still in the freezer, but I still get the odd psychic attack. It's not frequent, but that's the one where I'm doing the concave, and that seems to be working more. Just he can have it all back.
Yes. And I do have one more question. Like when you like you mentioned this woman, when she's out of your life, so of course we still have, even when maybe paths have taken or have gone into different directions, we still have energetic attachments to people, that we have cords, So how do you consciously dissolve these cords? Do you use like help of Archangel Michael with the sword to cut them, or do you have any special techniques for that?
Yeah, and again, you can change things up, and in each situation you can choose something different. So what I tend to do is a combination of Archangel Michael coming to cut the cords, and then I use ultraviolet fire to dissolve them. I'd read in a book where you can call on a group of angels who will take the cords away to source. So whatever feels right for you, and you can merge other people's techniques, because there are loads of techniques that you can read about, and I think meditations on YouTube, and find what works. But I think what's important for me is, once they have been dissolved or taken away in some form, is what I see in my mind's eye is that there's then kind of like a hole in me where the cord was. And so I fill it with divine white light.
Yes, I think that's important. Yeah.
And that's almost like if you're cleaning a wound. So it allows my own natural light to come and fill that space. And then I seal it with gold light, almost like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
To prevent further, because while it's still healing, it's made possibly a bit more vulnerable. So yeah, fill with divine white light, seal with gold. And that's one way to deal with it. I did have one cord into me where it kind of even set roots, where I needed to kind of visualize pulling the roots out.
Yeah.
Pull that all out and then kind of hand it over.
Yeah.
And the other thing to be aware of is that, you know, organizations are energy. You can be corded to an organization, a company, a business. So it took me a long time to realize, and with the help of somebody else, that I was still corded into the old property company that I used to work for. And no wonder I was, you know, feeling a bit drained. I was coming up to obstacles in my own business because my energy was being pulled back to another business. And so I had to cut cords with the organization as well. So I think to just look at those areas just anywhere, that it's not just people.
Yes.
But, you know, it could even be a place, a physical place. Like I think I still had some connection to the actual building. But even homes that you've lived in. Yeah. You know, after moving home, I suddenly realized part of my energy is still in my own home. And to call it back. Yeah. Look, you might need to call it into a crystal for healing first, you know. So if you have been through any sort of trauma, it's not always advisable to just call your light back, because if it's fragmented due to trauma, you don't want to bring that trauma back into you. Yes. It could fry your system. It could really upset you. It could, you know, send you into a dark night of the soul or something. You want that to be healed before it comes back into you. Yes. But yeah, so I would look at any previous homes, companies, especially past lovers. That's definitely important to cut cords in the sacral chakra with that. Yeah. Yes, that does have a great influence. Yeah. You can sometimes tell if you are still corded to somebody like that, because what I've noticed is, out of nowhere, somebody will pop into my mind and I think, why am I thinking of them? And then I get the message, they're thinking of you. And there's sometimes people I don't want to really be connected to, and then there's still a cord of some sorts. And what's important is to destroy all backup and recreation files or programs, because cords can be a bit like a computer where you've got your trash bin, your recycling bin, whatever it is. So you delete a file, and if that's by mistake, you go into the recycling bin and you can click restore. So with these cords, you destroy them, get rid of them, and some part of you, your unconscious mind or whatever, thinks, oh, hang on, but that cord is gone, we'd better recreate it using the backup file. So definitely good to destroy any backup or recreation files. Because I couldn't understand. I was cutting cords with a certain person for years, and I thought, this is boring now. And then I came across this, and it's like, that's why, because they keep reforming, either because I'm running the program or because this person is wanting to record with me. And look, just on that note, it's completely normal for kids to be corded to their parents. And you want those cords there because it's part of them feeling nurtured and connected. One person I spoke to said that she accidentally cut the cord, and her child did feel, was showing a few signs of abandonment. The cords will usually reform. So if it is accidentally cut, otherwise you can intentionally reform the cord. But you want to upgrade those cords, make sure that you can send gold light down them. Because I have heard some situations where it's not sounding healthy, that there is something not quite right. And so while it is natural for kids, you know, definitely up until possibly even early teens, but I'd say from teens onwards, that's when, you know, they can start standing on their own 2 feet. But certainly the little kids, you want to send gold light down. You don't want to just cut them. You upgrade the cords so that they still feel loved, nurtured.
Yeah, that's very important. Yes. I just read 2 really inspiring books. I don't know if you know them, from Peter Mount Shasta, Search for the Guru, and Apprentice to the Masters.
Oh, no, I don't know those.
And it was really interesting because the first book is like about him going to India and searching for his guru. And in the end, it's basically be your own guru. So to not be dependent on anything on the outside. Yes, to learn, be inspired. Yeah, it would be too much now to go into the whole book. But so in the second book, he actually does become an apprentice to the Master Saint-Germain. So, and it's really interesting, his story of learning to follow his intuition, his guidance. And he also had, I just read yesterday, there was a part where he had an extreme psychic attack, also of an entity that wanted to stop him from doing his light work. And in his case, he was really like physically attacked. I don't remember what it was. Something sharp went into his body. Like, it didn't actually hurt his physical body. Like, there was no blood or anything, but for days he would feel this pain at that spot.
Because the cells respond in the same way.
And he then actually managed to win this, call it fight or what you want to call it, by going into complete unconditional love and then sending it also towards this entity. And that protected him in that moment, and the entity left. So, but it's very interesting, those books. He talks a lot about these things and his own journey, and it's very interesting to read. So,
yeah, I think it's important for us all to realize that it doesn't matter where we are on the path, we can all be spiritual teachers.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and for a long time, I thought people were asking me to run workshops and webinars and all of this. And I was like, no. And I kept thinking, I don't know enough. Because I looked at the spiritual teachers in my life and I thought they were so amazing and they've written books and whatever. And there might be a book at one point, certainly not in the near future, but I've not done that, you know. And then I heard somebody say, but you know, you can help, so long as you're 2 steps ahead, you can help the people who's 2 steps behind you, you know, and let's all help each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, even just figuring out the technology, like you know, a few of us on a social media site, and that once you figure something out, you then share that, you know, and it helps everyone.
Yeah.
And that you don't need to be this spiritual teacher. You can help the person next to you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And trust your innate knowing and the gifts unfolding. I had the same as you. Like, you think, oh, am I far enough with this or that? And then you find out you really do help people, you know, like you said, we're all teachers on this path, and to trust that guidance and your intuition and the abilities that we do have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we start realizing that we've got so many innate gifts, talents, abilities, and experience that we have forgotten about by incarnating on this earth plane, that you don't know what you were. I mean, you could have, you know, probably were incredible, you know, in another lifetime, and that you are dismissing yourself because you've just forgotten that.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think a lot of us have been through that, and I think it's the common thing with light workers is doing loads of courses, you know, and when will it be enough?
Yeah.
I also did that, you know, always book on the next course, the next course, the next course. And when is it enough? And I'm not saying to stop doing courses, because I think even though I'm not part of a professional body anymore, I chose not to. One of the professional organizations that I was a member of did something that is not in line with my view of things, and I realized I could, by being a member of their organization, I'm giving some of my energy to them. They're in some way corded to me, and if they're going to be doing things that I don't agree with, I need to detach from that completely. But yeah, you know, even there, you don't need to be part of an organization, but they they seem to, and I think it is good, they insist on continual professional development. And when you're part of these organizations, you usually have to prove it each year, you know, how a certain amount of hours where you've done reading, listening to podcasts, workshops, courses, that sort of thing. And even though I'm not part of a professional organization anymore, I think it's still important to keep the learning. And I think actually we must never stop learning, even if it's reading books or whatever, to just stop and let the mind go, and to know that we don't know everything. There's always something more to learn.
Yeah.
And there's always a technique that we use that can be tweaked further.
Yes, and to find that balance. Yeah, absolutely. And to really integrate it into our everyday lives. I mean, you can go from course to course, from training to training, and never actually implement it into your own life, in your everyday life, to really practice what you preach, you know. And like you said, find a balance. Of course, do teachings, evolve, go beyond, go further, but at the same time, remember those innate gifts that we have, lifetimes we've had, our soul's origin, these gifts that we have, to give that also space. Like, I had a time in my life, I thought, oh, I need to do more courses, and I couldn't find anything that felt right. I didn't resonate with anything. And it turned out that it was a time where I needed to go within deeper, to develop my gifts, give them space, without anything being put on myself from the outside, and to go in deeper. And then after that period, I could move on to other things again. But it was important at that time to give that space to myself to develop those things and remember these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of doing all the different courses is, again, pick and choose what resonates with you.
Yeah.
And integrate that. So my pendulum work is actually bits and pieces from various teachers that I've decided what I like and I use. And actually, there's almost an entire course that I did that I've completely ditched because I didn't feel anything. You know, it sounded great, or the technique sounded amazing, but when using each technique, I felt no benefit. I didn't really feel the energetics. And it's okay to completely ditch an entire course. And it's okay to ditch half a course and keep the other half that you like, or maybe even just one element that you like and that resonates. And, you know, maybe you come back at a later date and look at something and you think, oh, actually, I do quite like that. We'll integrate that. But there's nothing set in stone that what a teacher says, you have then got to do exactly in those steps. You form your own way. So long as you keep to, you know, I would say definitely set up energetically, close down energetically, and in between you find what works, you know. And what works for each person. If you're a healer, a practitioner, what works for each different client could be completely different. Held between safe spaces and energetic protection. Oh, yes, one more thing. If you are a practitioner of any sorts, or you even just work with other people, if you're a coach, if you do massage, anything where you're working with clients, make sure you disconnect from your clients afterwards. I helped somebody a few weeks ago where they were still connected to over 50 clients.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Release their energy, disconnect. It has been said that a temporary cord is formed between healer and recipient, which is natural, but you want to make sure that that's dissolved and released, and you release your client's energy. I'd say even any sort of workshops, if you run that, any online events, anything where you're holding even a group space, need to disconnect from all of that, because it's just ways people can access your energy fields. And even if they're lovely people, it could also be draining. And if your energy is drained, it is more difficult to hold your own Jean Grey energetic field around you.
Absolutely. Yes, and you give such wonderful webinars. Like you said, your pendulum, I think you're hosting it next year again, right?
Yeah, it's sometime in February, I think.
Yeah. So anyone who's interested, I highly recommend it. I did your last one, so keep an eye open for that.
Yeah, I take you straight from beginners, and it's even for those people who've used pendulums before, but literally how to choose your pendulum, how to cleanse, clear it, program it, and how to start using it for yes and no. And we even then look at a basic chart, how you can start using. It's really great, the chart for percentage. I use the chart a lot actually to check energetic interference as well. You know, with my clients, if they're negative openings, how many, and a numbers chart is great. It shows me exactly how many negative openings we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's a great tool, definitely. Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go through the recording again.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but thank you so much. So much great information. And I think to sum it up, it's follow your intuition, be playful, experiment, see what's right for you, follow your guidance, right? If we would sum it up in a few words. Yes. Yes. But it's been lovely having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
And yeah, keep an eye out for Liz Findlay and her webinars and meditations. I'll definitely post all the links below the video.
Thank you.
Yes. So any last thoughts or?
Last thoughts? Well, as you said, have fun, raise your vibe. That helps with energetic protection.
Absolutely.
My favorite is dance to YouTube. Be your own DJ. I love the 80s cheese. And raise your vibe.
Yes. So in that sense, thank you so much for listening to us today. I hope we've inspired you a little bit, and see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.